A single dad walked a lost old woman home, then the CEO who fired him opened the door. Rain poured relentlessly over the city as Daniel Carter clutched the last cardboard box holding everything he had left from the job that had once promised him a better future. His shirt was soaked, his shoes splashed through puddles, and every step felt heavier than the last because waiting at home was his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who still believed her father could fix every problem in the world. Just as Daniel reached the bus stop, he noticed an elderly woman wandering alone in the storm, shivering, confused, and calling a name no one answered. People rushed past her without stopping. Daniel had every reason to keep walking. He had no money, no job, and no certainty about tomorrow. Yet something in her frightened eyes reminded him of his late mother. He set his own pain aside and gently offered to help her find her way home, never imagining that the front door he was about to knock on belonged to the very CEO who had destroyed his career only hours earlier. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Beyond Inspire for more unforgettable stories that touch the heart. Daniel had spent 6 years working for one of the city's fastest-growing technology companies. He was known for arriving early, leaving late, and never complaining. Since his wife Emily had passed away from cancer 4 years earlier, every decision he made revolved around Lily. She deserved a stable home, warm meals, and a father she could depend on. Daniel often skipped lunch just to save money for her school activities. Every promotion he earned was another promise fulfilled to his daughter. Then everything changed in one terrible meeting. The company had appointed a new CEO only 3 months earlier. Young, brilliant, and admired by investors, Victoria Hayes had arrived with one mission: to eliminate unnecessary costs and maximize profits. Departments were reorganized overnight. Employees who had served faithfully for years were reduced to numbers on spreadsheets. Daniel tried to explain that his team was completing one of the company's biggest projects, but no explanation mattered. His position disappeared before lunchtime. He packed his belongings while younger employees silently watched, afraid they might be next. Walking through the rain afterward, Daniel kept wondering how he would explain everything to Lily. She had been excited because he promised they would celebrate her birthday with a small cake that weekend. Now even buying groceries seemed uncertain. Then he noticed the elderly woman. She wore an old beige coat soaked from the rain, her gray hair clinging to her face. She looked around with frightened eyes, unable to remember where she lived. Cars splashed water onto the sidewalk as strangers hurried by without making eye contact. Daniel could have ignored her like everyone else. Instead, he removed his own jacket and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. The woman softly remembered a street name and described a large house with white columns and rose gardens. It wasn't much to go on, but Daniel patiently walked beside her through neighborhood after neighborhood. Whenever she became tired, he slowed his pace. Whenever she forgot where they were going, he reassured her that everything would be all right. Nearly an hour later, they finally reached a beautiful mansion matching her description. Warm lights glowed through enormous windows. Daniel sighed with relief and pressed the doorbell. The heavy wooden door slowly opened. Standing there was Victoria Hayes. For several seconds neither of them spoke. Victoria's confident expression disappeared instantly. She recognized Daniel immediately, the employee she had personally dismissed earlier that day. Yet instead of looking angry or bitter, Daniel stood there completely drenched, gently supporting the elderly woman beside him. The elderly woman smiled weakly and whispered that she had finally found home. Victoria rushed forward with tears filling her eyes. The elderly woman was her mother, Eleanor. Hours earlier, Eleanor had quietly left the house after becoming confused due to early memory loss. Security guards, neighbors, and police officers had been searching everywhere. Victoria feared the worst, especially after the storm intensified. Seeing her mother safe felt like witnessing a miracle. Daniel quietly stepped back, preparing to leave without expecting gratitude. But Victoria couldn't stop staring at him. Only that morning she had believed leadership meant making difficult financial decisions without emotion. Yet the men she had considered another expendable employee had sacrificed his own comfort, despite losing everything, simply to protect a helpless stranger. She invited Daniel inside to dry off before returning home. For the first time since becoming CEO, Victoria listened instead of speaking. She learned about Emily's battle with cancer, Lily's dreams of becoming a teacher, the sacrifices Daniel made every day, and how losing his job threatened the only stability his daughter had left. Meanwhile, Eleanor quietly watched the conversation with gentle eyes. She reached across the table and held Victoria's hand. Although her memory often faded, one sentence remained perfectly clear. She said that a company could replace workers, but a child could never replace her father. Those simple words pierced deeper than any business report ever had. That night Victoria couldn't sleep. She reviewed Daniel's employee file for the first time instead of relying on financial summaries. She discovered years of outstanding performance, letters of appreciation from clients, and countless examples of him helping co-workers without seeking recognition. She also realized something else. Many employees she had dismissed weren't poor performers. They had simply become convenient numbers. The following morning Victoria called an emergency executive meeting. Several board members resisted when she proposed changing the company's direction. They argued profits mattered more than emotions. Victoria calmly responded that businesses built only on profits eventually lose the people who create those profits. She reinstated Daniel immediately with full back pay. But she didn't stop there. Every employee laid off without proper evaluation received a personal review. Families struggling because of the sudden cuts received temporary financial assistance. Mental health support, flexible schedules for single parents, and employee education programs became permanent company policies. News about the company's transformation quickly spread throughout the city. Journalists praised Victoria's leadership, but she always redirected the credit toward one unforgettable rainy evening. Months later, Daniel stood proudly watching Lily perform during her school talent show. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't worrying about unpaid bills. Instead, he simply enjoyed being present for his daughter. After the performance, Lily hugged him tightly. She asked whether losing his job had been the worst day of his life. Daniel smiled gently. He realized it wasn't. Because if he had never walked through that storm, never stopped for a frightened stranger, and never chosen kindness over bitterness, none of the beautiful changes afterward would have happened. Sometimes life disguises its greatest blessings as painful endings. One rainy afternoon became the turning point not only for Daniel's family but also for hundreds of employees whose lives were forever changed because one act of compassion inspired an entire company to rediscover its humanity. Victoria visited Eleanor every evening after work now. She understood success meant little without the people waiting behind the front door. She became a leader employees respected rather than feared, and Daniel eventually accepted a promotion leading community outreach projects that helped struggling families across the city. Years later, people still remembered the story of the single father who had nothing left except a kind heart. Ironically, the greatest promotion Daniel ever received wasn't the new office, the higher salary, or the recognition. It was hearing Lily proudly tell her friends that her father was the bravest man she had ever known. Before the ending, tell us in the comments, if you were in Daniel's place, would you have stopped to help the lost old woman even after losing your job? We'd truly love to read your thoughts. Kindness rarely announces its reward. Most of the time it asks for sacrifice first. But every act of compassion leaves a mark somewhere, in someone's heart, in someone's future, or in ways we may never fully understand. Daniel expected nothing that rainy night except helping someone reach home safely. Yet because he chose kindness when life had been unfair to him, hope returned not only to his own family but to countless others whose lives would never be the same. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness is never wasted, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to Beyond Inspire. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories that restore hope, faith, and humanity.